What's going on, guys? We're back again. We are coming to you live from the Level Up Studios here in the beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. It's October 30th. We got a
Halloween Eve.
Halloween Eve. Yeah,
It's miserable outside.
Come on, man. I just talked about that the other day. We're not supposed to be complaining about
We
that.
love it. That's true.
I'm going to share this real quick. Hold on a second. Let me make sure that we got this shared now. Cool. We want everybody to check it out. So look, guys, thanks for joining us. We told you before that we're going to start coming to you guys. We're going to come on Mondays and Fridays. Realistically, I'd like to do this a little sooner, but these Mondays can get kind of crazy with just all that's going on. But anyway, we got a cool topic today. We had a good weekend. We had a big Halloween party. You know, a lot of you were there. What's going on, Brian? What's going on, Michelle Boggs? Big weekend, big Halloween weekend. It's kind of cool. We got Halloween tomorrow. I know my kids are pumped about it.
Yeah, mine too, man. It's always a fun time. I was actually talking today how this is the first year that Nevaeh, my daughter, will not be trick or treating. She's so it's kind of a sad one, but I still got the little guy.
She's getting big.
She's getting big, man. So.
Well, look, that kind of brings us into our topic. So the purpose of this show, for those of you that are just joining us, we decided that we would do this. I've got a pretty busy life. I run a couple different companies right out of this office here in Valparaiso. We're in the basement of the Centier Bank building. If you've been in downtown Valpo, right on the corner here, right locally in Valpo. But so we're in the basement right now. We've got a studio down here. We've got a real cool setup. Hoping to bring some good people on here. I want to be able to showcase local business owners and entrepreneurs, people that are doing big things here in the community. I want to be able to get them on here and let them share their stories. And all of it's going to be focused primarily around business and sales. You know, over the years, I've built some good companies, and I've done some, I've managed to do some cool things. And what we realized is that all of it had to do with selling. So every success that I've had, and every success that you've had, and all the people that I know that are really rich and have really done some good things, it's all because they got into sales. It's all because they were out convincing people of their ideas. Maybe they created something, they created some technology, or they were actually in sales selling something. So the purpose of this show is to share with you guys some of the things that I've learned over the years. I've built companies that are doing, $15-16 million a year. We have a real estate company that'll flip a bunch of houses. And we have a new company called the Walker Group that's going to start really helping salespeople level up their deal and get better. And so each week we're going to come to you with a new topic on Monday, and then hopefully every Friday we'll bring in a new local, I don't know if you want to call it a celebrity or what you want to call it, but someone local here in the community that's doing big things, and share that with you guys. So today our topic, we're talking about sales, but we're talking about your home life, okay? We're talking about what you have to do at home to make sure that you can be successful out in your business. So this could apply to the car salesman. This could apply to the guy that's in business like me or like Casey. This could apply to the girl working at the B-Dubs waitressing tables. The idea today is we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I've learned. I've been married for 12 years. We've been together for 14 years. It's funny, we were just talking about that. You've been married 10 years. I've been married 12 years.
You have me beat.
I got you beat. But I've been married for 12 years, and in all those years, I've always owned businesses. I've always been in sales. I've always been gone a lot. I've always, there's a sacrifice to be made. And so one of the things that's helped me to be successful in business was to always have a really solid marriage and home life. And I think that one of the reasons that I've always had a really solid home life is partially because I've always had successful businesses. So they kind of go hand in hand. So I guess let's just kick it off, Casey. We were talking this morning. First of all, sales is a mental thing. So number one, if you're going to go out and you're going to go and work in an industry that can sometimes be stressful, and again, this could apply to almost anything, your head's got to be right. So
Sure.
One of the things that we've always talked about is kind of clearing your head before you leave the house, making sure that whatever's going on at home, whatever issues you have, if the kids were being dicks before you left, and if the dog chewed up the couch before you left, and if the frickin' got a gas line leak or something, all that shit that happens at home, realistically, you got to leave that at home, okay? Because your customers don't know what's going on, and your customers, if they sense that stress in you, it's going to affect your deal. So I think part of it is understanding that you have to kind of leave that stuff at home. You got to make sure that when you go to work, when you walk out that door and you step out into the workplace, that you're ready to work, right? So how do you do that? One of the ways that I do it is personal development. Were you going to say something?
No, I will.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is I know, first of all, full disclosure here, I don't really have a lot of stresses at home. My home life's we're pretty cool, so I don't have a lot of that. But I've seen our guys go through that. I've seen our guys and girls that, you know, bring it to the office or bring it to the field, and it's like, dude, come on, like I could hear it in your voice that something's off. You know, what's going on?
Sure.
So,
yeah. Well, one of the things I would mention, if you in the ECS world in that company, you know, your average sales guy has an opportunity to make an insane amount of money, right? But with that,
$200,000, yeah, 200.
And with that comes something, though. I mean, they're oftentimes they're traveling a lot, they're driving a lot. Sometimes they're not home, they're staying in hotels. Some guys love it, some guys maybe don't love it as much. But wives can have some wear and tear on wives or husbands or whatever the case may be. So I thought maybe you'd kind of transition into that and how you've approached that. Obviously, we have to see it happening, and you know, sales guys on our teams are always happy to be open about it, right? Which is cool because you've built that culture. But maybe some examples of stuff you've had to deal with over the years, and how they have to figure that out.
So first of all, if you guys are watching and you have some suggestions or this has happened to you, make sure you comment on here. Share this stream if you can. Hey, real quick, last week we did this on Friday with Mark Boggs. We had almost over 10,000 views already on that.
Shout out to Mark Boggs.
Yeah,
man.
So great job, Mark Boggs. They're having a killer day today. I'm sure that's no coincidence, but appreciate you guys. So share this, comment in here if you got something you want to share. But look, here's one of the things. I'll tell you. For me, one of the reasons why I don't have those stresses with Jenny is because Jenny and I communicate really well. You know, so like I think most of the people that I've seen that really are having these issues with their wives or with their kids, it's because they're just not communicating. You know, well, and that's a huge thing.
And let me ask you that, because like, what does communicate really well mean? And I spent a lot of time with you and Jenny for that matter, and like I don't know how to judge how somebody communicates really well, but what I do know is you guys communicate nonstop.
Yeah.
Right. So is that? I mean.
Well, and that doesn't mean that we tell each other every 2 seconds what we're eating for lunch and shit like that. But what I'm saying is, and we do communicate a lot too. But I guess more so what I mean is like, have a conversation about what your day is going to be like. You know, in my world, especially Mondays, dude, this phone rings nonstop. Yeah. You know, it blows up. I get text messages while I'm sitting here trying to pay attention to the comments. My phone is just getting blown up. Distraction. And so sometimes if we've got an issue out in the field or we're working something, those things can kind of take, I'll take those calls before I'll take a call from Jenny sometimes. Sure. So part of what it is I need to be clear with her what I'm doing for the day, and she needs to be, we need to have an understanding that like on a Monday, for instance, it's going to be crazy, all right? I've got calls at 8:30 in the morning. Like today, for instance, we have our first conference call at 8:30 in the morning. Before that, I was on the phone with Craig, the president of Yellow Blue. I was on the phone with him for an hour before that. So really from like 7:30 until about 11:30, we have conference calls nonstop. So like if you're trying to get a hold of me, it's just not happening. If you're calling me anyway, but if you text me, I can answer that. So part of it is that Jenny knows what's going on there. So if she calls me in that time, I'll send her a text back and say, hey, I'm on a conference call. Hey, I'm doing the national call, whatever. If there's something, if there's an emergency, she's gonna call me. You know what I mean? And I know. But also part of that is that she knows, dude, don't bother me then. You know, sure. If it's something stupid about the dog eating the couch, now's not the time. I don't give a shit right now. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it. The other thing is like salespeople, they tend to be a little selfish, I think. I know I am a little bit. Yeah. And so we tend to think the things that we're going through are more important than anything else. So I think sometimes what happens is sales guys want to get out on the road and they got a busy day. Maybe they just lost a deal. And so we always tell our guys, look, don't dump all your crap on your wife. You know what I mean? If you're having a bad day, don't take that home. And we'll talk about that too in a second. And so sometimes I feel like rather than communicating with what's going on, they'll just not answer their phone all day. And I think wives, especially if you got a young wife with young kids, sometimes they get a little weird about that. You know, like, why can't you just respond to my text? Can't you just, call me for 2 seconds? I think it's important to just keep in touch. Sure. Let them know. In our world, for those of you who don't know, the companies the company that I owns, our guys are out really working with people in their homes. And so, like this week, Frank is out in Pennsylvania. We got Frank and Jordan out in Pennsylvania. Adam's in Pennsylvania. Jamin is in Pennsylvania.
Jamin's actually in West Virginia.
West Virginia. Okay, so whatever. Yeah. They're all over the place. So they're all over the place. So, we need to know their wives and their wives sometimes have to go days without seeing them.
Sure.
It's the price to pay for the career they have. So anyway, I think that kind of what I'm getting at is that it starts with having a good communication on what your week is going to be like and what your day is going to be like. So every Sunday, Jenny and I will have a little just kind of, hey, what's your week look like?
Yeah.
Well, I've got this on Monday. I've got closings on Wednesday. I've got this on Thursday. Whatever it is, we'll just kind of go through what's going on for the week so that we have a general idea. And then each morning, as we're kind of crossing paths, I'll be like, hey, by the way, I got this, and this, that kind of deal, right?
Sure.
And I think the other thing, too, is that Jenny never really expects me home at any certain time. I think that's big. And in a sales world, especially a lot of you guys that have, kind of jobs where you never know what you're doing, you don't tell your wife you're going to be home at 5 if you've got a 3 o'clock appointment, because you might not be home at 5. That deal might run late. So rather than telling her or the girl telling him you're going to be home at a certain time, just say, I got a 3 o'clock appointment. I'll call you when it's over, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I had that a few minutes ago. Lindsay's got a hair appointment she's on her way to. So one of the things I want to ask you, so everybody here watching or everybody who's going to see this probably doesn't know this, but you and Jenny was very involved in the beginning of this business, right? The startup of this business. So it's probably more natural for you than your average sales guy to include her on everything that's going on.
Sure.
That doesn't change the fact that you should do it regardless of who you are and what you're doing.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So that's it. Yeah, I just want to because you're telling that story that you kind of make it sound easy, right?
Sure.
But you could pick up the phone and tell Jenny what's going on, and she'll instantly know because she's so involved in the situation to begin with. So
yeah, and before we were married, we've always been in the grind. We've always been building something. If we weren't maintaining a company, we were building another one, or she was building something. So I think that's important. So there, I wrote some notes down for this I want to talk about. So there's two sides to this coin. One side of it is that in order for you to be if you look at the salespeople out there, first of all, if you're married and your wife or spouse is not supporting what you're doing, she needs to get on board. Okay, if you're a man and you're out in a sales job and your wife is not supportive of the company or she doesn't believe in what you're selling. Yeah. You need to get her on board.
So I just want to stop you because it's a killer point. Really, you only have two options. Number one, you either get your spouse on board, or it's going to end badly, right? There's really no in between. There's no.
It doesn't mean you divorce your spouse. But
no, but you have to figure it out.
The
right?
job's probably not going to work out.
Yeah, something's not going to work out. So it's not something that you can just we'll figure it out later, right?
So you know what that is. I don't know if Jordan's watching. For my Grant Cardone followers out there, I'm going to plagiarize a little bit here and steal something from him, but. If you're on Cardone U, there's a whole section about no versus no. And what he's talking about is NO versus KNOW, meaning anytime you get a no about something, it's because there's something that you didn't know or that the buyer didn't know. Okay, so if you're selling a car and the customer says, hey, I want to look at a Camry, and they tell you all this stuff, and then you get through everything and they're telling you that they don't want to do it, there's probably something about that deal that they don't understand or that they don't like. Well, it's the same thing in this. If your spouse isn't supporting what you're doing, it's probably because there's something about what you're doing that she doesn't understand. It could be that she doesn't believe in the product. It could be, what's going on, John? It could be that she doesn't believe in the product. It could be that she doesn't, understand it. It could be that she doesn't know your boss. It could be just change. There's a million reasons. So as the man of the house, as the husband, I believe it's your responsibility to handle that. Don't just say, oh, you just trust me on this. No, dude, it's your responsibility to help her feel good about it. If you choose not to do that and you just kind of chalk it up as she should know and understand, then you're going to have, like you said, it's going to end badly. She's either going to get burnout on it or you're going to suffer in your business. Look, I've had really good salespeople. I've had some guys that had more talent than I've ever had leave the business because their wife was never on board, And it wasn't because of anything other than their wife just wasn't on board. You know what I mean? That's good, man. Someone just said the best thing that ever happened was taking her to a Super Saturday. So Corky's saying that he brought his wife. Super Saturdays are these meetings that we have. Good point. If you're in a business and you have national meetings or local meetings, get your spouse involved. Let her see who you work with. Let him see who you work with, ladies. And if you're embarrassed of the people you work with, you might want to think about changing jobs. You know, that could be part of it. You know,
Sure.
Maybe sometimes people don't want to bring their spouse around because, you know, maybe you work in an industry
to them or
whatever. And if that's the case, then, you know, look, any of the real successful companies that I know of and the successful people that I know, their spouses are on board. They know what's going on. They believe in it, and they're part of it.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, even to the point where if you look at ECS as a whole, we do a lot of stuff on the app GroupMe where it's just messages and deals and, you know, communication nonstop. I mean, the majority of wives are on there.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I seen Catherine today, you know, lighting it up.
Yeah, lighting it up for Jordan because he's putting together an awesome day. So, and really that's about culture too. And I've learned that long ago at the Super Saturdays where, you know, they have a time where they get the wives together and they have sort of their own little meeting and they bring spouses up on the stage to talk about who they are and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it kind of just goes back to involving your family as much as possible in what you're doing.
Yeah. You know, the other thing too, I was just thinking about is your kids, man. Your kids have a bigger part of this than you think. And so, you know, I think it's important that your kids understand what you do. You know, I think your kids should be they should be your biggest cheerleaders. If you've got kids that just think that daddy works at, you know, a car dealership, you know, that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, you run your family how you want to, but I think your kids should know what you're doing. You know how cool it is for me to hear my daughters talk about this show, or to hear my daughters, you know, talk about Corey. Like, they're always asking about the people at our work. I make sure that, and it might be easier for me. Again, a lot of this stuff, this specific conversation might be easier because we own the company and because it doesn't leave me. But I think that a lot of times that's a part that's missed, man. Even if you're a brand new salesperson, get your kids involved. Let them know what you're doing. Get them fired up about it. You might be instilling some, you know, some I don't know, some discipline or something within them that'll carry on with them forever.
Yeah, I mean, just knowing what it is that mom or dad does every day when they disappear for the majority of the day, or perhaps even sometimes when they get home at night and things still don't shut off. I mean, my phone rings nonstop, and there's plenty of 7 p.m., 8 p.m. nights where I'm on the phone. You know, and it's obviously you want to include them in the work you're doing, but, you know, especially if our kids get to have an amazing life, you know, this is why we're doing it, right?
Sure.
So not just, you know, never to look at them like they're a chore. One of the things you mentioned, I want to go back, you talked about compartmentalizing, right? Like, you leave the house, stuff's going nuts, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the dog's on fire.
Dude, I wish my dog was on fire.
Yeah,
I wouldn't let that thing burn. My fire extinguishers don't work. The hose broken. Everything's done, man. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so that's important. One of the things I want to talk about, and like, everybody's business and industry is going to be different, but we do an 8:30 call every single day, right? And when you jump on that 8:30 call, everything that just happened at your house is basically done, right? It has nothing to do with what we're doing on that 8:30 call. We're focusing on, you know, what we did the day previously, what we're doing that day, what our goal is for the week, you know, so on.
Can you
and so
imagine
forth.
If I hopped on the call and was like, hey guys, sorry, my dog just ate my kid and
I poured a bowl of cereal and there was no milk. And
yeah,
what am I supposed to do?
That would be, I would, first of all, I would never do that, but can you just imagine what that could do for everyone else?
It's infectious, man.
Yeah.
100%. So, I think with anything you're doing, if you're walking into an office, if you're walking into a car dealership, if you're walking into somebody's home trying to sell them a product and you're bringing in that baggage, you're losing, man.
Yeah.
Like, you've already lost this, you know, control of what's happening. So,
and you know, dude, look, you can't be selfish either. That's the other thing. So, like, guys, in my business, you guys are in your car, okay? So I want to talk about that a little bit. You're in your car most of the time. You're driving around. You have time alone. Don't sit there and just stew on whatever's going on. Don't sit there and just like obsess over the fact that your dog was just a dick before you left. You need to fill your mind with good positive stuff. So you need to know. Let me give you something you can write down if you have this, or if someone can write this in the comments so it's there. But you need to understand that, like, that these things are going to come up. So when you enter that car, when you enter your office for your workday, you need to have some stuff prepared to battle the bullshit that you just dealt with. And what I mean by that is have some audio. I know that I listen to Grant Cardone, I listen to the Brad Lee podcast, I listen to Gary Vee, whatever. There's a whole bunch of them out there, but you can bet that when I get in my car, if I've just had something really negative happen or if I'm stressed out, I can instantly put something on. Now we've got our phones and it makes it even easier.
Sure.
But be prepared to get in the car. You sometimes have to fight it, all right? So I know that for the sake of everyone else around me, I better snap out of this right now, And I also know that I usually can't do it alone. And so that's why I use other people to help motivate me and get me out of it.
Man, that's a great point. So you have more responsibility than most, right? You have a team of I don't know how many people at this point that are in some way relying on this business and you to have a certain type of attitude. And not everybody has that, right? But if you have a spouse, if you have children, they're relying on you.
Yeah.
So you owe it to them to snap the fuck out of it and figure it out.
Totally. I mean, one of the things I wrote down is don't be selfish. Like, you got to understand that the way that you react or the way that you act and respond can affect a lot of other people, and it goes both ways. So if you had a shitty morning and you leave your house and you act like a dick to the people in your work, you could affect them. Car guys especially, just because I know that your industry, you guys are in one, you're under one roof, you're hanging out, you're interacting with each other. Someone else might have been having a great morning, they walk by and you're just kind of crabby. That could mess up their morning. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Or a client could walk in that's ready to and prepared to do business with you, or you can walk into their home and they're ready to do business with you. And because of your bad attitude and because of what you're carrying around with you, you could possibly prevent them from doing business with you. Your attitude could prevent them from trusting you and not really getting to know the real you. And then whatever it is that you're doing, if you believe in your product and you're doing a good thing, they're never ever going to benefit from that great product that you had to sell, right? So real estate agents, you might prohibit or prevent somebody from buying their dream home, right?
Yeah.
If you're a car salesman, you might prevent them from getting the best deal they could possibly have. Window guys, car guy, whatever, insulation guys, just like us. It's all the same. The same thing goes back to our kids. If I've had a bad day, and you mentioned something a minute ago about these phone calls, I think it's important that we talk about that. But if you had a bad day and you just come storming in and they're like, "Hey, daddy, hey, daddy," and you're like, "Hey, dude, what's that do to a little girl's mind?
Yeah.
What's that do to a little 10-year-old when you walk in the house and act like an asshole because you had a bad day and you didn't make a sale?" Look, if you're one sale away, and this was something that Bill talked about on the call today, but if that one sale that you didn't get is putting you putting you over the edge, not being judgmental about it, but you got bigger problems. You need to skill up and you need to have some money saved up so that one sale isn't the one that's going to kill you. You know what I mean? So you got to leave that stuff, you got to leave that stuff at home, man. I know for Jenny, this is just one little thing about the phone. I wanted to talk about picking and choosing your battles a little bit, because here's one thing that just drives Jenny nuts. I mean, it absolutely will just set her off. Jenny, by the way, I see you commenting on here. I think you're commenting under my account because it says that I'm saying it. But just in case you're going to comment on this. But Jenny, she gets super irritated if I walk in the house on a phone call. So she's making dinner or whatever, and the kids are doing their homework. And if I walk in on a phone call, it like pisses her off. Like I could have just bought her a freaking island somewhere. And if I walk in and do that, she just blows her mind. And so it's really weird because it's one of those things that I don't really see what's the big deal, like, just to be honest with you, like, I don't see what's so bad about that, but it bothers her. Okay. So I have to pick and choose my battles. If that's something that really bothers her that much, I can do one of two things. All right. I have a choice to make. I can either fight her on it and maybe get my way, but the reality is it's just something within her that annoys her, or I could just stop doing it. Right? And if I just stop doing it, maybe we won't have that fight, and maybe she won't burn my dinner, or whatever the case. I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things, like, dude, it's just not really worth it. Like, it bothers her that much, then let's just not do it. I'll finish my call in the driveway, right? But I think going back to you talking about the conference calls and taking the TO calls with the guys, like, you just got to tell your kids what you're doing. Hey guys, there's going to be phone calls. All right. Tonight's a busy night. And I think what's really cool too, just like in a sale, we let our customers know what we're doing. Maybe sit down with Asher and be like, "Hey bud, listen, hey, Corey's in a house tonight. Corey's got he's going to be calling me tonight. We're going to help Corey make a deal." Right. or Jamin, hey, we're going to help Jamin tonight. Jamin's going to make some money tonight. And let them know. So when Jamin calls, instead of being like, hey, I got to take this and walk away, be like, hey, bud, let's do it. Hey, Jay, you know what I mean?
What a great way to look at it.
He'll love it. Like, he'll just take something that he could have like looked at as like, oh, my dad's not paying attention to me, to like, all right, me and dad are doing this.
Sure.
You know?
It also goes back to our topic last week that everything's sales, right? Like,
everything.
Sell it to them, man.
Yeah, you just gotta sell them.
So let's bring up that terrible topic of complaining, right? So we talked a little bit about that. Leave it at home. Snap the hell out of it if you have to. But if you absolutely, and this is something I learned from you long ago, which is 100% spot on. But if you have to complain, you have to what? You have to complain up, right? Yeah. So I don't know if you want to maybe kind of share that and how you.
It's a tough one because, you know, like I just don't complain much. So like for me, I just learned to deal with it. It doesn't mean I just store it away somewhere. If it's something that realistically needs to be talked about, obviously I will. But most of the time, the shit that you guys are complaining about isn't that big of a deal. So I think that's part of it. Like, dude, it's not that bad. You live in America. If you have these problems as a salesperson, you're in a position where you could be making more money. All right. I don't know a broke salesperson that's broke because of the industry. All right. I don't know a broke salesperson that's broke because their boss isn't giving them enough opportunity. I'm sure it exists out there. I'm sure that there's a bad boss somewhere, and there's probably tons of them. But one of the great things about a salesperson is, or really anybody for that matter, but a salesperson especially, dude, you don't have a degree in sales. You can walk out of there anytime. So if your boss is really that big of a dick, just go get another job. You know. So part of it is that the stuff that you're complaining about is usually not that big of a deal. It's just your own little pity party. So I think the first part is just to be kind of use discernment. You know, when you're sitting there stewing about something, if you miss the deal, dude, you're going to miss more deals. It's not the first deal you missed, and it's not going to be the last. You're going to miss more. So, you know, don't let that ruin your day. If it was something that actually really bothered you, like maybe somebody did you wrong, maybe you had a cancellation, maybe you had a guy come in and just blow his top and be super mad at you, I would talk about that with someone else in your industry. I would call a buddy in the industry. I talk a lot about having an accountability partner. I think that's kind of an important thing. If you're a salesperson, and it's really cool, if you look at our guys, yeah, you're right. I'm looking at Z here. He said, Gary Vee explained it the best. Nobody gives a shit about your complaining. That's what Gary Vee says. 100%. But sometimes it's not about someone giving a shit as much as it is like you need to vent. You need to just get out. So if you're going to do that, call someone else in your business and do it. Hey man, and I would start the call like this. Hey dude, I need to give you a call. Yeah, it looks like something's wrong.
Sorry guys.
Hey guys, I need to give you a call, man. I'm kind of having a shitty day. I need to vent to you, you know. And give them a call and let them know, first of all, that you're going to you know, you're gonna be venting to them. Let them know that. But then as soon as you're done, just get off it and move on. You know what I mean? Sorry guys, we had a little bit of a weird deal there. So anyway, so if you're gonna vent about it, call someone, let them know you're gonna vent, get it out, get some advice, and move on. You know, don't stew on it. Don't let it become don't let it become a big issue. The one thing you don't ever want to do is you don't ever want to complain to your wife, to your kids, to your mom. You know, you need to complain up. You know, don't complain to the people that are depending on you. Don't complain to the people that need you the most
supportive of you. Yeah.
Don't do that to them, man. It's just don't do that to them. It's just not good, you know. So a couple things, let's kind of, maybe we could wrap this up here soon, but number one, you need to leave it at home. If you've got something going on at home, leave it at home. If you've got something going on at work, leave it at work. So maybe the saying isn't leave it at home or leave it at work. Maybe it's just leave it wherever it is. All right. Don't carry it around with you. Don't have it follow you around. Just be done with it, man. The other thing is that most of the stuff isn't really that big of a deal. The things that you think are just the worst in the whole, you know, freaking world, they're usually not that bad. You know, it's not as bad as you think they are. Don't be selfish. You know, understand that the people around you need you. Your people need you. Your customers need you. Your wife needs you. Your kids need you. So know that you're there for them. Don't bring them down with your bullshit that doesn't really matter to them. You know what I mean? You know, I think for business guys, especially sales guys, I think some of these things too, if you think about how much is this going to hurt the person I'm going to tell it to compared to how much is it actually going to help? when you go and tell your wife something that is really bothering you or stressing you out, you might actually now start to stress her out. You know, the thing that was your stress that you could have just dealt with
put that on somebody
now
else
becomes her stress. And so now you've got two people wasting energy on something that probably doesn't need to be wasted. And that's just selfish. You know, it's not necessary.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and you have to get to a point where you're starting to see these things happen, you know, in your mind, happen and playing out before you take that move. You know,
Absolutely.
Like, what is the best outcome of me doing this?
Yeah.
You know, is it just causing more stress to my spouse or the people around me?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I think again, I gotta say that I'm really lucky because Jenny and I and Lindsay's the same way. Like our wives are super cool, and they're, you know, we probably have it easy, I think, in the scheme of things.
100%.
But I do know this: everybody I've ever known that's experienced that stressful home life, it's usually because their spouses just don't understand what they're doing, you know, or they're just not completely sold on it. So
that goes back to the first point. I mean, you have to have them involved, and you need the support to be effective, productive, and profitable, which is what you said when we opened up. Yeah, it's 100% true.
100%.
So what? Before we wrap up, are we at 30 minutes already?
It's been something like that. They go fast.
These things fly by. That's cool. What if Nathan Walker just doesn't feel like talking about it?
What do you mean?
What if you don't feel like talking about it? Like
about what?
About anything.
I don't want to talk about it.
You come home and Jenny's like, "How was your day? Tell me all about it."
I don't want to talk about it. No, that ain't. I mean, so for me, like, I'm not that kind of person. So she would know something was up. You know, she would know something was up if that was the case. But you know, I think the bottom line is that, you know, here's what I do know. All right, if you guys are out there chasing money, I know if you're like me, I'm building businesses and I'm building companies so that I can have freedom and so that I can have a good life and I can have fun. All right, I'm building something. I'm grinding. I'm doing this show. I'm doing all these things that we do so that I could someday have some freedom. And right now I'm getting that. Right? We have a little bit of freedom. And so when you think about that freedom and that dream that I'm selling to people, she said he always wants to talk about that dream that I'm selling to people, you know, like if when it's all said and done, if I don't have anybody to enjoy it with because I'm negative all the time and I'm always bitching, then what was the point? You know what I mean? And if all you're ever doing is complaining and all you're ever doing is just, you know, bringing around all the crap, no one's going to want to be around you.
Yeah.
Let's clarify what Miss Walker here just had to say. Really, what it comes down to is that I don't actually, yeah, you're right, man. I appreciate that, Z. What I'm actually usually talking about is I don't come home and complain. I'm usually excited, and I want to tell her about something that she doesn't care about too.
Yeah,
so it's like in my world, I got so many things going on, and I'm always making new deals, and I got these new things going on that I can't turn it off. And so maybe let's close on that. When do we turn it off? Do we need to know? Do you salespeople? Do you business people? Every now and then, do we just need to maybe turn this thing off and just kind of just pay attention? No, never. I think we do, man. I can tell you, I've been doing this a long time, and I think that sometimes your kids just want to spend time with their dad.
For sure.
Sometimes Brooklyn just wants to sit there and hang out with me. Sometimes, thank you for clarifying that, Jenny. Sometimes Jenny and I just want to talk. I can tell you that Jenny and I have had the best days. We've had the best nights after we've sat and talked. You know, sometimes you just got to talk. Don't talk about work. If you're going to talk about work,
it's a hard thing to do too.
Well, if you do, but that's okay though, because if your wife is on the same page with you, she's going to want to talk about it too.
Sure.
And if you're not always spewing it on her, not always bitching and always complaining, she's going to want to talk about it. So some of the best conversations, and when we go to work, we'll sit there. I can remember a time we sat there and got out a notebook and we're like, let's build this thing. Let's do it. Let's get an office and go over here and do that. You know, I mean, we've done a lot of stuff has been around that. But the thing is that if I'm always bitching about something, if I'm always negative, she's not going to want to talk about it. And likewise, if that's all I talk about is work and building, then she's not going to talk about it either. So sometimes you need to turn it off. I think for your kids, I think that this cell phone right here has literally made me millions and millions of dollars. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me business-wise. It allows for me to communicate with my customers. It allows me to communicate with my staff. It allows me to communicate with my wife and my kids. But it also can be a distraction between me and my family, the people that mean the most to me. And so sometimes it's a good idea to just take your phone and put it in a drawer. Spend an hour, you know, put it away for an hour and just see what happens. Your kids for the first 10 minutes might actually wish that they had their phones, you know, like I know Kaylee will, she'll want it, but But dude, put it away and just play with them. Play a board game, do something, just kind of hang out with them.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
It goes a long way, dude. Because at the end of the day, man, all this stuff is fun, and all this, the money's cool, and the business is fun, and the things that we do are fun. But if something were to happen, God forbid, something happened, on my drive home, or something happened to one of my kids, I don't want to have to be stuck with that memory that all they remembered was just daddy was working and daddy was on their
stressed and distracted.
Daddy was always stressed out. You know what I mean? So I want my kids, when it's all said and done, I want my kids to remember that I spent time with them, that we had good quality time, that I loved on them, and that they knew that I was willing to give them that attention. That's it.
Yeah.
And if they understand that the reason that daddy's got to do this is because he's building a company or because he's helping someone, then they'll be okay with it,
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think the whole technology thing could be a whole episode in itself, probably.
Probably.
But what you were saying there kind of brings us back full circle. And actually, Frank Brown, one of my favorite human beings, said it earlier, that you need to make sure that your spouse and your family is sold on your why. Why are you doing this? And I know you're.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah. And Frank's a good example. Frank got on a plane and flew to Pennsylvania last night on a Sunday to work this week, and his wife Courtney is 100% sold on his why and why he's doing that, and why he comes in here. And Frank set all this up while me and Nathan yelled at him for hours because he was taking too long. And but I mean, again, that's what it comes down to, man. They need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. If not, it's only going to lead to more and bigger problems. So.
For sure, man. So guys, look, thanks for joining us today. If you guys, if you haven't shared this already, I apologize. I got a weird cough today, but please share this. Invite people to this Level Up group. If you've been to our Facebook group, we got a group where we just share stuff. Make sure that you like my page. I know last week we had like 10,000 views. So follow my page. We're going to keep bringing you guys good stuff. We're going to be doing this again on Friday. We're going to have a new guest in here. I'm not going to tell you who yet, but it's going to be a good one. You guys are going to enjoy it. My goal with you guys is to keep sharing with you guys stuff. If you continue to follow us and you continue to let us know the kind of things that you want to hear and the topics you want to know, dude, I'll do whatever you guys want. We're doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my family because we love you guys. So I guess with that, have a good Monday night. Spend some time with your babies tonight. Put your phones away. Give your wife a hug. Spend a little unconditional
talk to
uninterrupted time.
Yeah.
Just have fun, man. It's too short. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
next time.
See you soon.